Hello, hello. How are you guys doing? Took me a second to get this live because I realized that my kids were watching TV and I had to go turn it off because our internet just can't handle two things at once. So, how are y'all? Hey, Xavier. Your needs are wide, Deborah. Hello, hello. Where are you guys watching from? How are you doing? I have been with my cousin Josh all afternoon. He actually lives not far from here, and he came to visit, saw the farm. So I hung out with him for the entire afternoon. We just went through my seeds. We're going to get him set up with a garden. He's lived in New York City for 8 years before this and has been gardening on a windowsill, so he's really excited. All right. Let's see. Mississippi. I see Kansas City, California. Oh, Texas Hill Country. That's one of my favorite places as far as beauty goes. The Texas Hill Country is gorgeous.
What are you making? Sorry I'm late. Big Bear Homestead. I mean, like, you're, what, 2 minutes late? 10 lashings. That's all just going way too fast. I'm going to have to look at the video from my phone because how do you even put chat into slow mode? I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if we have
Homestead
the
in the Highlands.
capacity to, because we don't have one of those fancy programs that they have.
Hey, Homestead in the Highlands, how is my recording of you reading Lord of the Rings coming?
Oh, so yeah, Michigan, you guys are having some crazy cold weather and snow. We're having cold weather. For us, it's cold. I mean, like today at 3 p.m, I went down to the garden and all of the mud puddles were ice. So that's pretty cold for us. Am I going to plant a field of grain for the animals? I don't have space to plant anything like fodder or anything like that. However, I would love to eventually one day be able to produce a lot of my animals' food here, but I just don't have the space to right now. I actually started some seeds today. I'm in zone 9B. Am I too late? Nah, I don't think you're too late. Where are you? Let's see who that was. I'm not going to be able to pull the... I guess I can pull the chat up on my phone for a minute. It's going to die. My phone is always about to die, just so you know this about me. And
let's see, where am I at?
Jeremiah. Okay.
I'm at 80%.
There's two kinds of people in the world. There are the kinds of people that have this many notifications on their phone. Can you see it?
Can you see that?
I don't think you can see it.
Get it closer to this camera. Right there.
Okay, can you see it? Yeah.
It's like 76
text messages that are unread.
I have no red bubbles on my phone.
He hates red bubbles, and he will open my phone and start opening everything so that the red bubbles will go away because it drives him crazy. And then I'm like, hey, that's my reminder that I need to handle that. And he's like, well, then handle it. So we're just completely different in that. Cassandra from Little Rock. Oh, you've got people having your back that hate red bubbles.
Yes, thank you. That's awesome, Anna Cooley. She said that she's giving me props because she built some trellises and a small greenhouse by herself this week, and that was seriously not a one-person job.
She put pictures up on the Facebook.
Was that her that posted that? Wow, that was impressive.
You, Anna? You put up quite a few. Somebody posted pictures that said they had done a lot of them.
Yeah, those look good.
Diane, I know. As soon as Christmas is over, I'm just done with winter. And so, okay, Keto Country Homestead. I'll check.
That was me.
So, how's y'all's weekend been? My cousin came over. I was saying this earlier when we first got in here. My cousin came over today, and he has lived in... He's from Arkansas, but he's lived in New York City for 8 years. And he and his wife just moved back a few months ago. And they actually live in Little Rock, Cassandra, and kind of near the Capitol Heights area. And they bought this really cute house from the 1920s. It's super adorable. And it has a really neat backyard that a person had put a lot into the landscaping. And it was cool because when they first moved in, I went through all their garden beds. And it was like early fall and found all the herbs and told them what everything was. They had a lot of edibles in their backyard already, but some raised beds. So I was helping him make a plan today. I think we're going to go out and help him get that put in. Josh, I'm not sure. I just don't know a whole lot about Florida. I would think it's probably not too early to plant potatoes, but I really don't know a whole lot about that. And I don't know because I know in different parts of Florida, the salt can be an issue. And so I've talked to some people. If anybody in here is from Florida and you could answer that question, if you know more about growing there, I know I've talked to some people that have had a really hard time growing some things because the salt, like that's something that you have to be aware of in some areas. I know that right now I'm in zone, I meant to grab that little thing. I'm in zone 7B, but I kind of err to the side of 7A because we are at a higher elevation on the ridge we live on. And my last frost date is currently slated for April 14th. So I will go off of that. And like right now I'm starting my brassicas to transplant at the end of February into the garden. I'm starting kale. I'm probably not going to do very much broccoli or cauliflower because I've already got a good deal of that that's overwintered. And then I'll direct sow peas in the middle of February. And I'll direct sow some lettuces and calendula in the middle of February. And then the middle of February, I'm going to be starting my peppers and tomatoes, which I actually made my lists last night. Some of you may have seen the photo that I posted on Instagram. That was actually the narrowed down list, and it's something like 80 varieties of tomatoes. So today I was in the garden figuring out how to add more trellis space and what space I can give up to tomatoes. So Big Bear is Big Bear Homestead. They're on here. They're one of our moderators. It's Jason and Robin, and they have a really awesome channel if you guys don't already follow them. Oh, Two Family Homestead. Had to walk through snowdrifts, but you're here. Y'all aren't going to know what to do coming down here in March, or even further south than here, Mississippi. It's going to be like a vacation for y'all. Come thaw out for a little while.
I hope that's Robin saying that.
Jason might be blushing. I bet it's Jason.
It better be Robin. I'm going to take his Marine Corps card for a couple weeks. Blushing. Is that what happens whenever the enemy shows up and you in your foxhole ready to fight? Oh, I'm blushing. I'm sorry. I just had to give him a hard time.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Mark. All right, so there are some.
Okay, Nancy Cohen. Let's just address that right now. There's two ways to eat kale, in my opinion. The only two ways to eat kale: juice it because of nutrition, or roast the crap out of it with sea salt and make chips. What does a ponytail have to do with blushing? You're having an emotional response, and I'm a Viking. I'm like, how is that the same thing?
Okay, let's go talk back to kale. I actually really like kale, but I don't eat it raw. I'll put it in soup. Like there are some really good soups with kale in them.
Do you know why kale's good in that soup?
Because there's sausage in it.
Because there's sausage in it.
And I like kale sauteed. Like I like to dice up an onion and saute an onion and then put some garlic in the pan until it like sweats a little bit, and then take some ripped up kale and put it in there until it just starts to wilt with some butter, and then put some fried eggs on top of that. That's like a really good way to eat kale. And kale chips. If you've never eaten kale chips, that's like...
My Scottish sister agrees with me.
Oh my gosh.
Just saying.
But yeah, if you've never eaten kale chips, that's a really good way to eat kale. That's a great way to get children to eat kale, because you just tear up pieces, take the big hard ribs out, and tear up pieces, put a little bit of oil on them and some like good flaky salt.
Once you eat kale that way, you probably won't eat it any other way, because
I still eat kale a lot of other ways, but kale chips are really good. It's a great snack.
I'm going down and browsing the greens to choose from. I'm like, look at these lovely arugula greens and these salad greens that have flavor, and the spinach. And I'm like, look at this great salad. Then I look over at kale. I'm like, Better not. Just go inside and eat a good salad. And kale stays in the garden until we need to juice it or roast it.
Keith, kale is really only bitter if you grow it when it's hot outside. Depending on where you live, like there are some northern places that you can probably grow it year round without it getting bitter. Here, I usually tear it out of the garden by about mid to late May. And at that point, all of the little caterpillars that get on it, they're really gearing up at that point, but it starts getting bitter. The stuff that's in my garden right now that is growing in the cold and has gotten frost on it a time or two is so sweet. It's really good.
Sunshine Farm. Have you ever heard of massaging kale? Nope. That'd be the first time.
That is funny. I've never heard of that.
You want to start a business? Let's be an entrepreneur. Hey guys, bring your kale for massages and it'll taste better.
No, I don't think
it's like a final meal.
Y'all want to see the cutest puppy in the world?
This is not the cutest puppy in the world.
Come on, Nosk. This is Jeremiah's little brother, Noah. And the puppy that he needs to be clarified that he got for his girlfriend.
Yeah, this is not his manly puppy.
But it's his puppy. Look at him.
Look at that little rat dog. He's like so confused. He's like, what am I doing?
Isn't he so cute?
He's tiny.
Here we go. Crystal Bailey, your first time catching us live. Do you have any questions? I'm gonna have to look into the tail massaging thing. Yeah, he's a miniature Australian Shepherd, and his name is Kai, and he's so cute. He looks like a Wookiee. That's about right.
Only not as cool because Wookiees can tear you apart.
So, if you have any questions, make sure you put them in all caps so we can see them.
And if you don't answer it, just keep asking.
Someone said raccoon or puppy. He is so cute. He's one of his eyes. One of his eyes is half blue, and I just think that's really neat.
Funny. I love this. The Guardians of the Galaxy. They're talking about Rocket Raccoon, and he's called him a trash panda. That's kind of what that dog makes me think of.
So,
are you feeling better?
Let me see. I'm gonna let that don't poke the bear shared that link to some potatoes, so I'm gonna let that link stay up. Potatoes in Florida. That's good.
Yeah, that's a question.
She's good at finding information. Yeah. So, okay, Dawn. My composting it leaves a lot to be desired. That's one of my goals, kind of loosely this year, is to be a little more intentional in that. The way that we have composted in the past is essentially just pile up a bunch of stuff and then after a while move it onto the garden. I have never stuck a thermometer in a compost pile. I have never been super meticulous about the ratio of brown and green. Truly, I just have multiple piles that we throw stuff on. And we'll just throw stuff on it for a while, and then we'll turn it over a couple times, and then we just leave it alone and go on to a different pile. And that includes bedding out of the animals, some yard waste. We have compost that we take out. But at this point, we're composting nothing out of our kitchen. Coffee and even that I'm not even drinking coffee.
Honestly, I haven't put a whole lot of emphasis on that particular kind of composting for two reasons. One, the horses have produced more rich soil in the last 2 years than we know what to do with. Like the pasture that they're on, once they get off of it, is going to start growing stuff like crazy because it's 2 years of broken down hay, horse manure being churned up.
Last year, that field had sunflowers all in it because they ate sunflower seeds.
They eat black sunflowers, and they were planting them for us. And the second thing is that we've had a lot of leftover hay when we were doing round bales for the goats, and that's been turned into dirt multiple times. So really, we haven't needed to set up a compost bin. And so it's not that we don't or anything like that. It's just when you don't really need something Well,
the other thing is too, we have pigs now, and so they really get all of the kitchen scraps and or the chickens. We just feed all that stuff to the animals, so we don't have much of that. Now I'll pick up coffee grounds like at Starbucks or whatever coffee shops when they have them out for the garden. I'll grab those and just throw them in the compost bin with all of the hay and stuff. But I really don't have a lot of methods. Now that's one thing that I'm starting Charles Dowding's book in depth front to back. I've kind of perused it, but I'm going to look at it really in depth. He has a very streamlined composting system. And Justin Rhodes knows a lot about composting as well. He's a good person to go to for that. Okay, I saw a question I wanted to answer. Oh, Mark, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And thank you to Big Bear for sending you. Somebody said, okay, 2 questions I'm going to answer. Have you had problems with cats in your beds? Absolutely. My cats mess with my garden beds all the time. They use them as litter boxes sometimes. Now, I have seen people take chicken wire and lay down the chicken wire and basically cut holes out for their plants. And so you lay it down before you plant, you lay down chicken wire and then cut the holes out because chicken wire is really easy to snip and then plant in it. And then when the cats go to dig, they hit chicken wire and so they stop. The issue that I'm having with that is that we have 2,000 square feet of space and that would be a stinking lot of chicken wire.
I thought you were asking, like, if I thought you were saying you were going to do that this year. And I'm like, no. No, that's not one of those things that's going to happen.
And so typically what I'll do in the summer and what I'll do this summer is I'll take I just spray them with the hose.
Honestly, when you were saying something about that, I was literally had like my version of this commercial where it was like, the corn industry paid for some family to go on and be like, ooh, Kool-Aid, high fructose corn syrup, my body can't tell. And I'm gonna be like, fertilized by cat crap, my body can't tell.
No, it'll kill your plants. Like it's definitely not.
They didn't really kill that many plants last year.
They killed a few squash plants. I'm pretty sure they killed that ground cherry. They did I had one plant mysteriously die and I couldn't figure out. I was like, man, what happened? And then I caught my cat doing their business.
That's just a lot of chicken wire. That's a lot of.
So that is a thing. Another thing that someone said was put plastic forks up in your garden where it would poke. But I mean, you just have to put so much crap in your garden to do that. I don't know. Someone asked what would be an ideal amount of land for a first time homesteader. If we were getting started again, I would have liked to start with 10 acres. Now that we have done this for 5 years, we will probably at some point look for a different place to expand and to be able to have a little more privacy because our house is really near the road. When we do that, at this point, I probably would want more than 10 acres just because some of the goals we have, and we have horses and all that stuff. But I think with 10 acres, you can do quite a lot. You can do a lot on 5. I mean, we're on 4.5 right now, and we're growing a lot of our food. You can do a lot, but 10 would probably be ideal since that's what you're asking. It's about ideal.
The Wyatt wife, when you first get chicks, do you have to use a starter feed? What can they eat? Yes, it's called a crumble. They usually come in 2 different options from feed stores. You either can get a medicated crumble or a non-medicated chicken crumble. We always have done non-medicated. I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe because it's just you don't like having the medicines in meat and eggs or whatever. I think we're just trying to go as
non-medicated across the board.
Pretty much. So yes, go to your local feed store and ask for chick starter, non-medicated.
Yeah. And you can do it organic too if you want to do that. The Farm at Homestead Co. First of all, thank you so much for the super chat. We really appreciate that. My husband thinks we will get 6 pieces of okra plant.
Please inform. Oh Lord.
You will get 6 pieces of okra per day. Truly, if you make sure that your okra plant is planted in good rich soil, they're heavy feeders, they need rich soil, and they like it hot. So I don't know if they grow as prolifically in northern areas. The okra was insane. I planted, now I grow a lot of it because I like to eat it a lot. I mean, we eat it raw. We fry it, pickle it, but I think I had 12 plants this year, and I would go out there every day and pick, sometimes 20 pods a day, and they grow so fast. So okra is very prolific if it's fed well. I saw another super chat come up. Thank you so much, Karen.
Someone asked me a good question that I want to address really quick. Oh, she said, I only have 2 acres. Is that good enough? I said, what Jessica was saying is about how much land would we like to have. Ideal. Do whatever you can on anything.
Right now,
front yard, backyard, apartment complex, doesn't matter. Find some way to grow something. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Right now, everything that you see on our property is pretty much on 2 acres. Maybe like 2.5.
Don't count the horses.
Not counting the horses, not counting anything that's next door. But the cleared part of our property here, everything you see in the videos is on 2.5 acres. Our house sits right in the middle. We have the front yard where the greenhouse is. Down to the side is the garden. And then the chickens are right behind that. And then in the back are the goats and the pigs. So yeah, I mean, like we don't have a whole lot of space. Now the issue is that it's more expensive. It's much more expensive to keep animals whenever you have to buy hay.
Yeah, that's one of our biggest expenses.
All right, let me scroll down. Oh, there's Rose. Hey, Rose.
I'm in an apartment. What do you recommend to grow in pots aside from the usual tomatoes? Herbs, any kind of cooking herbs, anything you would actually use in the kitchen, like make it a kitchen garden. That's my suggestion. Jessica might have something more in depth.
What was the
apartment
question?
Complex.
Apartment complex.
Containers.
Dwarf tomatoes are a really good thing. Peppers are a really great thing to grow in containers. As long as you've got a long enough season. If you don't have a long season, you would want to start those inside and get them as established as possible before putting them outside. And I would say with peppers and tomatoes would provide a lot in containers. Some are more suited than others, and a lot of times you can find that out in the description. If you're going to set up some trellises, you could do some other stuff. You could do bush beans in containers, but you're probably just not going to get a whole lot. But yeah, peppers, tomatoes, and herbs would be a really good place to start. Advice for first-time newbies. Black Crow Homestead. Newbies at what? Like gardening?
Everything.
I would say if you're just getting started with gardening, I would say just get started. I mean, like you learn so much from just getting your hands on it. And that's what I was telling my cousin tonight, because he's really gardening for the first time outside of like a windowsill, and he's having an actual garden. And I was just like, you learn so much from hands-on. Just in a year or two, just tremendously more than when you started. And so just really getting started. Could you put up a pickled okra recipe? Yeah, whenever I start getting okra and pickling it, I will definitely
what are the next
share that.
Dates?
Asked about the dates. I'm speaking at Baker Creek. Hold on, I'll tell you. It's in May. It's in May, and it's actually on a Sunday and a Monday. The planting festival is. Is that right? Yeah. May 5th and 6th. I think that's right. I need to look that up. I should know that. I need to start bringing my calendar here whenever we do these.
Man, squash bugs hit us hard last year.
Yes, they did.
I think they pretty much took out almost everything. We had a few plants do well.
When I started fighting them, they took out everything. I stayed on them for a while, but I typically will hand pick those off and put them in soapy water. And after a while, it was just like, you can just have it. I'm tired of picking you.
What is your speaking schedule? Are you speaking twice? Both days at May?
I don't know.
I don't really know what that schedule looks like yet.
I don't know yet. I didn't know with the expo until I got there what the plan was. Dandelion acre, how big will the seed swap in Conway be? It was pretty impressive last year. Honestly, I mean, it wasn't. Let me rephrase that, because if you go in expecting like a convention or something, it wasn't like that. It was at a library, and there were, probably 10 people with tables set up that had brought their own seeds. And then they have a seed bank there that you can go through all their stuff. I'm going to bring a lot of stuff. I think I'm going to call Baker Creek and see what they'll send me to bring to that, because I think that they would really like to, help sponsor that. So yes, Baker Creek is May 5th and 6th, Sunday and Monday. And both days are 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I don't know what day I'm going to be speaking, or if it's going to be both. So,
we'll just be there.
But yeah, we will be there both days. So if you're wanting to come and meet up and visit and all that stuff, we'll be there both days.
So it's giving me a hard time for yawning.
Lauren,
because I'm tired.
Lauren posted a link. So, where is Morgan? There
Is he
he
on
is.
here?
Yeah, I asked him the other day if I could.
No, okay.
Yeah.
How's everyone doing? I think we're doing good.
Yeah.
I don't know
It's
why
the
I'm
end
that
of the
tired.
weekend. I don't know. Jeremiah worked on a lot of stuff outside this weekend, and it's cold. Whenever you're working
You know what
outside
really
in the
zapped
cold,
me? He was going down to get the deer stands and stuff, and having to drive the 4-wheeler. That really made me tired.
do you do mostly canning, or do you freeze a lot and keep it in the freezers or cellar? I prefer to can, Judy. We have freezers, and I've got mostly meat in the freezers. I did freeze a lot of tomatoes this year to process later, and I really liked that method, and I may do more of that next year now that I know that it's an option, especially whenever they're really coming in and I just don't have time. It's nice to know you can just clean them and core them and put an X on the bottom, just score the bottom of the skin and freeze them. And then whenever they thaw out, the skin slip right off and you can process them. That's probably what I will do from now on. So am I on goat baby watch? Yes. I am definitely on goat baby watch. And actually, I've been watching Maggie super close. I can't remember when we bred her. And guys, I've got like planner ADD. And so I switch planners all the time because I keep thinking if I get another one, it's going to make me an organized person. And
Maybe
so
this time,
maybe this time. And so I can't find where I wrote down where she was bred. We know when she was bred because Daniel and Maya had to hold her because she was not letting him, the buck, anywhere near. And she was just being, we had an older and more mature buck in our yard, and she wanted him, not the one that we had given her the option of. And so anyway, we know when she was bred, but I didn't write it down, so we don't know when she was bred. But I've been watching her in Nestle, though. I went out today, and Nestle's udder's definitely gotten bigger, so I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
See you later, Keto Country Homestead. They said they have to go because they're kids. I understand.
We know all about that. Have you ever tried to grow your own wheat, and would you grow some this year? You know, Josh, I haven't, and I probably will not this year because of just space. I do think it would be very interesting.
Right. I think it would be fun to learn how to do stuff like that. Like once we get more land, like I'd love to get into learning how to do your own hay and different things.
Jay Rose, thinking of moving to Arkansas from Virginia. Did it take you time to meet the community there, and are the locals welcoming?
We are the community.
I grew up here. I grew up in North Little Rock, Sherwood, which is about 35 minutes from where we are now, 30 minutes. And so I was not plugged into the homesteading community, but I had frequented farmers markets and the local restaurants and all of that stuff for a long time. I don't think that we are just massively plugged into the community here. We have several friends that homestead, and we're really trying to kind of create some community around this community.
It's not that we're not plugged into the community. I think what the
we
issue
don't market or anything.
Well, not just that. Like, it feels like there's a lack of connection between people who are doing the same thing. Like, there's not like a rallying point. Does that make sense? Like, there's lots of people who do what we do.
There is a lot in Little Rock, but we're like close to an hour away from there. So, but no, I mean, people are really kind. I would say people are super kind. Awesome. People are very helpful.
When I say community, I don't mean like there's not small niches, but like, for example, you know, Homesteaders of America, that brings in lots of people from Virginia or even the country into one area. Like, there's not something that brings everyone together to get to know. Like, I know there's lots of people out there that are doing what we're doing. I just don't know about them, and I don't know ways of getting them together. Like, the meetup in April might be a good way, but
yeah. Yeah, the affordability of property is definitely a plus. You can get a good bit of land here for a lot cheaper, especially when comparing to a lot of other places. Know any homesteaders in northern Arkansas? I don't really know anybody up that way, but there are a lot of people. I've talked to people before on here that are, you know, could get on, and they're living up near Fort Smith and Fayetteville. That is a beautiful part of the state. Mm-hmm. For a long time, we said that that's a place that we would like to live. I don't know exactly, you know, what that looks like, or if that, you know, if that's going to be ever or soon or later. I don't know. But my brother lives in Fayetteville, and so I really love it up there.
Yeah, that's really kind of what I was saying. Like they're saying this like it's to
Yeah.
sell, not to be self-sufficient. Whereas we're not really interested in farmers markets. We're providing for ourselves. Like our goal is to provide 85% of our own food this year. Whereas a lot of the people who are growing stuff are, especially if they're market oriented, they're just going to sell.
Yeah. Fields Family 5, can you can striped tomatoes or all striped tomatoes low acid? The ball canning book just suggests that you add lemon juice. Like they say to do it to all tomatoes just to be sure that you're not accidentally doing a low acid variety, or you can put citric acid in. So I have canned striped and yellow tomatoes. This year I did all of mine together, and so it's kind of like a multicolored jar, which is really pretty, but I did add lemon juice to those just to make sure that they were going to be safe. Any advantages to hills or flatland for making a homestead, Sarah? I think one main thing that you want to look at whenever you're looking at a piece of property is how the water drains. I mean, that's like a really big part.
Flat can be good, but not if it's in a swamp.
Yeah, flat can be great.
Or a floodplain.
Yeah, but not if it's, not if it's going to be marshy. Obviously, gardening is a little bit easier on flat land, but you can do swales and stuff like that on hills and even pretty steep hills. So yeah, I mean, there are advantages. I would say that like really rocky land would be problematic. Really steep land would be problematic, but people do it. I mean, all the time. We visited Art and Bree and in North Carolina whenever we came back from Homesteaders of America, and they've got some really steep areas, and they've got a beautiful place, and they're using their property. So.
I've seen this one a couple times. Do you sell chicks or just fertilized eggs? I don't think we really sell either.
We have sold both.
We don't currently.
We do not right now because we cut down our flock pretty significantly. About a year and a half ago, we decided, because we were kind of all over the place. When we got started, we got really excited and we started breeding these rare breed chickens, and we were selling fertilized eggs and chicks. We had all these other chickens that we were selling chicks to the feed store. We were selling eggs to a bakery. We were just so committed on providing for other people and marketing, like you're saying. And there were times that literally, like, we'd be like, well, I guess we're not going to eat eggs this week because I'm certainly not going to go buy any from the store. And I don't have any because I've sold all of them. That was a bummer. And so we decided then, what are we doing this for? Our goal is to grow our own food. So we're just going to get rid of most of this and just keep enough to feed us. So we don't do either, but both are very viable options as far as making money on a farm. Let's see. Why do you hang frying pans on the wall? Because I don't have a huge kitchen, and so it's just more space. And also, with the cast iron, just kind of season it and put it up, and it looks pretty. What breed of quail do you raise? I'm going to say it wrong. I always say it wrong. You know how whenever you have a word wrong in your mind, then every time you read it as the wrong way? Like, instead of actually how it says, is it Cotornix? Is that how it's supposed to be said? Or is that the wrong version? I can't remember. That's what kind of have. Pigs, easy pet. Are they hard to care for with sensitivity to heat and cold? Husband is concerned about getting them. We have very similar weather seasons to y'all. No, they're not hard as far as.
You give them a place.
They need shelter.
Shade, and then they use the same exact place to get out of.
Cotornix, is that how you say?
Essentially, because they can get pneumonia pretty easily. So other than that, it's pretty much. I mean, you can just let them do their thing.
Yeah, they're
pretty good at cooling themselves off with mud baths and different things. Make sure they have water, which is just that for any animal. Better
to give them more space, but you can raise them on a small amount of space. Cotornix.
Our quail are kind of outside and inside. They're inside a 3-sided barn next door, inside cages. So they're outside, but they're
shielded from the wind, right. And so they have some, but they are in the cold, and they're doing just fine. Cotornix. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to say it exactly, but
best place to get quail.
I got ours from Alchemist Farms, and she's got a really cool breeding program. I think Rose, where is the place that you liked? Wholesome Roots. She's got a lot of quail too, and she had some from a place recently that I think she said she was right. AJ Farms for jumbo quail. Okay, so there's that.
We have never processed a goat for meat.
No.
Not that we're against it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We get attached to our goats pretty good, so I can't really imagine eating any of them.
Yeah.
Maybe if we got into a specific kind of goat, like to raise just for meat, but we're not there yet.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Cab 7. We appreciate that.
Why do you choose raised beds over directly planting in the ground?
Our soil is really rough here. It's almost entirely clay. It's got a lot of rocks in it. However, I did end up, so we thought we can't grow in the ground. Nothing's going to grow here. And we built all our raised beds. And then it was like, well, maybe we'll just try it. And we did experiment in the ground, and we grew.
It grew some stuff, but not like it did in the raised beds.
Not like the raised beds, everything flourished. It was just like everything was abundant. Everything was huge, healthy, produced a lot of fruit. And in the ground, it didn't do nearly as well. But you can amend soil, and there are a lot of ways, especially no-dig methods, to address that. But raised beds overall, I have a video about it, about the benefits of raised beds. They're easier on your back. It's easier to manage your soil, and control it. And also just the aesthetic appeal. I really like that about them.
The Wyatt Life asked about, they want to start raising chickens that hatch their own chicks. My suggestion is this. Get whatever breeds of chickens you want, and then get silkies.
Silkies are really
Silkies are like the best broody moms. Doesn't White House on the Hill use silkies to hatch stuff out? I think I've seen that in the video.
Yeah, they do.
And so, I'm telling you, silkies. So just get some silkies. They'll go broody. They always do. And then you just stick all the eggs underneath them, and then they'll raise up all these chicks that eventually will be twice their size. It's like having giant children. Yeah,
silkies are really good. Typically any sort of hybrid breed, like Isa Browns and Red Comets, those have been bred. Like the broodiness has been bred out of them. Like they typically don't go broody as much, but heritage breeds are going to be ones that do go broody. And I had a Wyandotte. We called her Mama because she would raise 3 clutches of chicks in a year. Like she just was constantly broody. And so I would just constantly just let her raise chicks. But silkies are really prone to it. So Bantams like to go broody. I've heard that before. Do I do starters or do I start right in the beds? It really depends on what, Judy. I will start tomatoes, eggplants, peppers. I will start all those 6 to 8 weeks before my last frost date. And then ground cherries, tomatillos, all that stuff at the same time. And then about 4 weeks before, I will go ahead and start like okra and some of those things. Maybe some cucumbers. A lot of times I'll direct sow cucumbers and squash. Those things that come to fruit in 50 days, I just direct sow them because, it's not, you don't need that much of a kickstart, but with other things, it really helps. Lettuces, I usually direct sow. Kale, a lot of times I direct sow. A lot of the flowers I direct sow. Gosh, this is going fast. Do you have any problems with keeping snakes away? We haven't seen a whole lot of snakes since we've been here. I don't typically garden barefoot because of them. But when it gets really, really hot, it's hard to wear boots. And so I just try to be really aware. The only 2 snakes that we have seen here that were like, I had a king snake that lived in my garden last year, and I named him Uzziah. And, he would give me a little startle whenever I saw him, but I immediately would recognize him. And, if I was working somewhere, I would usually just pick him up and put him somewhere else, go back to where I was working. But I encouraged him to stay because they'll eat pests. We found a copperhead crushed between 2 pieces of tin. Daniel was down there working with me in the garden one day, and he picked up a piece of tin, and I knew it was bad when he was scared because he will pick up and play with any snake that he finds because he can tell if they're venomous by looking at him. And that copperhead had been killed because someone had stepped on a piece of tin and it smashed it. And that was pretty scary. And we found a water moccasin in the milking stall. And since then, I've been much more aware about making sure there's not clutter in the spaces. But I mean, it's part of living in the South, like they're here. So, do beans cross-pollinate small farm in the big city? Everything I've been told is that they don't readily cross-pollinate. Now, I think that if you, I don't know. Everything that I've read said you don't really have to worry about that. Of course, if I'm trying to save the seeds for something, I typically will give it a little bit of space so it's not growing right up next to other beans. Lorna, my raised beds are 18 inches high. Cindy, how do you keep fire ants out of your beds? I've really struggled with that in the past. Somebody told me to pour boiling water on their hills, and I'm going to try that this year because that's something that we have really dealt with. It's hard, and I've done diatomaceous earth. It helps a little bit. Like sometimes they'll move, but with diatomaceous earth, a lot of times they just move over. And my big issue is that I have a lot of garden space. And so I just chased them around the garden for the most part last year. And they would move, and I would put something on them, and they would move. Pure Bliss, how do you decide to lay out your garden? I think if I had a smaller space, I would probably draw a picture and really figure out how many spaces I had and plan accordingly. I am choosing from way too many seeds and filling way too much space. And last year I spent days on this huge picture that was engineer paper. I colored pencils. It was glorious. And when it came to planting, I didn't plant half of the stuff that I said in the same places that I was going to. So kind of what I do is I get an idea of generally how many plants I want. And then I just walk around my garden and I think, okay, this is where I'm going to put that. Like today, I'm actually changing some things up this year. I'm going to be putting up some new trellises. And today I've just started looking at it and getting an idea of what all I need to start and how many plants I need to start and what areas are going to be for what. And that's super not helpful. I realize that. Whenever it comes down to actually planning it, what I did last year is I went ahead and made my markers, and I had a list of everything I had started and all the seeds I wanted to plant, and I just made markers for everything. And I went down there and I put the markers in where I wanted everything to be. And then that way I had an idea on spacing, and it was like, oh, I've got this much space left. I can put something else in. I'd go back to my seed collection and find something else I wanted to plant there. So that gave me, I'm so hands-on. I have a hard time with picture. I need a visual, something I can touch to really feel like I have a plan. What is your favorite non-red slicer tomato? I want to add color to my basket. I think it's pronounced Wykes. I've always said Witchies, but I've had a few people tell me that's wrong. But it's spelled Wyches. And that is my favorite. It's yellow, and it's really lovely. Yeah. So this is my tomato list for this year. These are the ones I'm starting. This is not all my seeds. These are the ones that I'm actually going to start. Now, I might not actually plant all of those, and a lot of them it'll just be one plant. But yeah, that's what I'm starting. I think it's 80. I think it's 80 varieties. Brotherly, I sucker my tomatoes. I do trim them. Daryl said, geesh. How do you support melons and squash on the arch trellis? Last year, I bought these plastic mesh produce bags from Amazon, and they worked really well, but I'm really trying to get away from using plastic as much this year. Like, that's something I'm trying to be, like, extra mindful of. And the thing is that they tied on well, but you had to cut them off, so they were just one-use things. Someone told me about getting, like, undergarment bags from the dollar store, which, like, you know, the things you wash, like, delicates and stuff in, and getting clothespins. And so you can put them in those bags and then clothespin it to the trellis, and then you can reuse it a lot, and it holds up to the rain and stuff. So I think that's what I'm going to do this year. Mortgage lifter didn't do great for me last year. Heirloom permaculture. Did it do good for you? Like, I grew it last year, and I was just kind of like, meh. It didn't, like, wow me. Some of the ones somebody asked what I was excited about. We can talk about this tomato list and some of the things that I'm excited about on this. I am growing an F1 hybrid this year called Honey Drop, and I'm really excited about it. It might not even be considered F1 anymore. It might be stabilized at this point. I know it started as a hybrid. It was a hybrid a few years ago, but Honey Drop, and that's one that I'm really excited about because I've heard that it's even sweeter than, like, Sun Gold and Sun Sugar. I'm really excited about Wild Boar Farms' new Painted Lady tomato, which is variegated leaves, and I'm just really pumped about that. Jersey Devil is one that I'm really pumped about. Like, it's really long and thin, and I saw it when I was at the expo and was like, wow, that is really neat. And then whenever I got the opportunity to really spend some good time with Luke while we were at HOA, and that's one that he suggested, as well as Japanese Black Trifle. That's one that he suggested that I'm going to grow this year. And there's one I got seeds from in a swap called Girl's Weird Thing, and it looks really neat. I have to admit to you guys, there were some tomatoes that I literally was like, I thought about growing them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to pronounce this on garden tours on YouTube. I was like, maybe I won't grow this one.
Yeah, definitely. Kale from Quail Hall.
Mangalita Mama. Tyler, you know, with squash bugs, I just pick them off and just try to catch them. I always have a bucket of soapy water in the garden, and I just pick them off. And you can do, like, sprays like neem oil, and there are some other different sprays, but that has been the most consistent way to really deal with them without spraying chemicals.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that Alabama's quarterback transferred to Oklahoma. Just saying.
Who are you talking to?
Someone was, like, mentioning that Jalen Hurts So they, our freshman quarterback, which was the Heisman winner, he is going to baseball.
Oh.
He only played 1 year, and so
cool.
One of Alabama's really good quarterbacks transferred for next year.
Yay, sports.
Yay, sports. Throw a strike. Yeah.
Dustin, I have 2 cameras. I have a Canon G7X and a Canon 80D with a 24 millimeter lens. Those are the 2 cameras that I use. Do you need a Legos gardening kit with raised beds? That's funny.
No.
Do you know if someone allergic to chicken and eggs can eat duck eggs? I do not know.
I don't know.
My mom is allergic to eggs, but I better not test it out on her because she's, like, anaphylactic. So, like, we don't play with that. What type of bush bean would you suggest to plant? Planting noodle beans also. Dragon tongue's really good. Like, it's a really neat bean. I really like that one. And then I really like filet beans, like the French really thin green beans. Those are probably my favorite different kinds. And there are a few different kinds. They're all really good. Oh, and Tanya's pink pod. I can't wait to grow that one again. Okay, Morgan Shaw, Gold Shaw Farms. Morgan Gold said a lot of people who can't eat chicken eggs can eat duck eggs, and he would know. He raises ducks, and so yeah, that's really interesting to know. But check with the doctor. Yeah. Don't blame Morgan.
We're not giving any doctor advice. Nah.
Rose said Some people can eat quail eggs that can't eat chicken eggs. So that'd be another thing to look at too. That's one of those things though, if you can't eat something, it's kind of like scary to try something else. Will you plant any flower starts? Artisan Bard. Yes. A lot of things I'll direct sow, but some things I'll be going in early. Like I know the calendula is direct sow, but I was pulling out my flowers yesterday, and I think the chamomile and I started my marigolds early last year. I started my borage early last year, and so I'll probably be starting all of those again, and maybe I'm doing some others too. So good night, Patrice. Let's see. Do you have a Rhode Island red chicken? Chris, I don't have one now, I don't think. But that was what we started out with. We started out with 30 Rhode Island red chickens. So those were our first ones. What happened to our guardian dog? We actually rehomed our guardian dogs, and we just have our 2 inside dogs. The guardian dogs
weren't guarding anything.
They weren't guarding anything. They were running off. They were becoming like neighborhood nuisances. And
Chuck Norris was guarding the cattle across the street, which are not our cattle.
Yeah. So we.
My neighbor was really appreciative.
So we have at this point decided we're not going to do outside guardian dog. We're not going to do guardian dogs for now. Maybe if we ever end up on a lot more land, it would warrant it. But I don't know. I might just get a donkey at that point.
Donkey. I like donkeys, I guess.
Any recommendations for laying hens for a beginner in the suburbs? Barred rocks are super sweet, Rachel. If you're going to get just a few.
Do you need a best friend or you just want some eggs?
If you're going to get a few and you've got, like, I don't know if you've got kids or if you're wanting chickens that are actually going to be able to be handled, like Orpingtons and barred rocks are just really sweet types of chickens. And so I think that having, if you're trying to have them like pets too, like those have really good temperament. Some chickens can be very flighty, like Americanas are pretty typically very flighty. And they're not super sweet. Any news on baby goats? Not yet. You have baby goats, don't you? Cosmopolitan cornbread said a donkey to live with your alpacas.
Honestly, my suggestion, and I've done a lot of the chicken stuff, they're not necessarily the prettiest, but they're hybrids, so they'll be sturdy. And especially when you're learning, you are not usually helping the matter as far as like keeping them alive. Usually you're learning how to keep them alive. So something hardy and sturdier is better. A cinnamon queen or some kind of production cross that's like a Rhode Island red, they crank out eggs. We had some that would lay twice a day. Yeah. And I'm not making that up. Like, we did the math. It was just them. We got this many eggs. There were no eggs the day before. Like, multiples had to be laying twice a day. And it wasn't hurting them or messing them up. They were just really good production, and they were strong. They're the ones that never got the infection. They were just pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. They're really good chickens.
Dog training, let me just say, it's not going that good yet. So we're noobs at dog training.
Con had his first.
We went. I took him. We hung out. We did a lot of petting. And he looked at me and then looked at the other dogs because we didn't think about it and fed him at 5 and the class was at 7. So he was like, food. And then we didn't even think about treats. So we took cheese, and apparently Con.
Well, string cheese was on the list.
Yeah, well, not for Con. I need something like pungent because he was like, cheese. I'm not working for cheese and I'm not even hungry. So it was just he didn't do anything. Like, actually, out of all the things we practiced, he did none. Like, so if that's good, well, I mean, yeah, that's good. But
someone said our veggie customer wants a local quail supplier. Should we take the plunge? I want them for us, but we don't need them. Quail are really cool. And I would say they're pretty easy animals to keep. And they come to maturity so fast in like 6 weeks. Ours are right at 6 weeks. So they should be laying here pretty soon.
And we've got them all separated into multiple cages. And I'll tell you this, I have no idea which ones are males and which ones are females.
Yeah, we got to figure that out.
I'm assuming there's probably some males and some females mixed in, so we'll figure it out.
Amy said you looked so defeated at Con's first class.
I was defeated. I was sitting on the floor, and Con was just standing over me as I held his leash. And everyone else was like, sit, stay. And everyone's like, one dog was like climbing a ladder and fetching a Frisbee on the first day. And I'm like, Con's like, nah, bro. No, I'm just gonna keep pulling on this leash, and you can just keep pulling me back over and over and over and over and over. So there you
go. Let's see.
How do we pick questions? They keep asking over and over and over again.
Yeah,
if we see it multiple times, it'll trigger.
Yeah, like whenever our eyes land on it, we just miss so much. I'm sorry.
How can you tell the sex? Like, I need to watch a YouTube video on that because I don't know.
You can vent sex.
Yes, Con's only 7 months old.
Okay, cool. Toasted Rabbit made a video about how to vent sex.
All right, I'm going to go watch that.
We're going to go watch Toasted Rabbit's video and figure out how to tell this gender of our quail. I will vlog the quail, Gail. We'll go over there and get some footage of them. Maybe we can do that tomorrow. Cool.
Yep. Also got the thumbs up to move the horses to the new pasture.
Yep. That's going to be in the vlog soon. Oh gosh, guys, they're going to take off. It's going to be so exciting.
And then I'm going to get with him tomorrow.
Thank you, Mary.
And set up our round pen because I guess me and Jessica were like watching a movie last night together after our kids fell asleep. And we're like, what do you want to watch? And we started our horse training videos.
Yeah, we did. We laid in bed last night and watched horse training videos. They were really interesting. I like
Video the next class. I don't know about that. Actually, no, I'm not allowed to.
Oh, you're not?
I'm really not because he said not only that, we're not even allowed to share the handouts. He said he's not trying to nitpick, but this is his livelihood.
Yeah.
And if the people want that information, they need to take the class.
Yeah.
So I don't think that would be beneficial to him. Maybe a little bit.
Sewing a Legacy said you can tell by their chest feathers, and I have read that. But we'll look at both of those things. We'll watch Toasted Rabbit's video, and then also I saw about the chest feathers. So we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, you know what's been really nice, except for this person, Tony Rathfield. You know, without Ethan here, there hasn't been this whole alpaca movement. It's been very pleasant tonight. Now that it's almost over, I'm sure I'll get a bunch of alpaca
I have
stuff. I was just saying, it was nice.
I have actually backed off of alpacas for the moment. I will have alpacas someday, and I already have their names picked out, and they're going to be glorious. And I'm not telling you until you meet them what their awesome names are because they are.
What the heck? When did he show up? He wasn't even supposed to be here. Did he really just sneak in and watch this whole video without saying anything just so he could come on and say #alpacas? I feel betrayed. That's it.
He's your friend.
Oh, it's Sarah. Okay, it's not Ethan. That makes sense. That's not okay, Sarah. You're not supposed to be on his side also.
That's funny. Okay. Yeah, I would love to have alpacas. I want alpacas, and I will have alpacas. I put a video out the other day about like the new skills for the new year and how right now my big focus for this year is to just finish well. And so we're really focusing on getting everything that we're doing to excellence without starting a bunch that's new right away.
You know who my Homestead hero is?
Who?
Homestead in the Highlands.
Why? What did she say?
She talks really cool, and they're looking into getting reindeer. Reindeer. Like, who has that? Besides Santa Claus, who doesn't vlog. Nobody has that. She's my favorite.
Pat.
I really do actually want to visit.
The doctor tomorrow. I'll be praying. Definitely. I'm so sorry.
My 18-inch raised bed, big enough for slow down. Tomatoes, cucumbers, and Kajari melons, all in the same one.
Okay. 18 inches is fine on depth for all of those things.
Yeah, that's fine.
You could grow all those things in 12 inches of soil. For tomatoes, cucumbers, and Kajari melons, you could, with trellises, possibly fit all of that into a 4x4 foot bed, but maybe like one plant of each.
Yeah, it's 18 inches is plenty high enough to keep rabbits out. We don't have any rabbits getting into our raised beds at all.
Yeah. Cindy Lopez, what do you plant in the ground? Last year I planted several things just testing. It was really purely just an experiment. This year in the back, I'll be planting corn, watermelons, winter squash, and I'm possibly going to do like a row with some cattle panel trellises to do dried beans. That's just what I'm going to put in the ground this year. Patricia
Hoger, answer that about tomatoes.
I don't see it.
Okay, it says, please, I need to know what the difference between determinate and indeterminate tomatoes is. I have a short growing window in New York, so what's better for me?
Okay. It's usually on the tag, yes. Determinate is just that it has a determined set of blossoms, a determined amount of blossoms. And so those are the ones that are going to grow to a certain point and then stop. They're typically in the 2 to 3 foot range, or you can get some that are called micro tomatoes or dwarf tomatoes that grow like 12 to 18 inches tall. They are not the majority. Like when you go to Baker Creek's catalog and you start looking through the catalog, the majority of the plants in there are indeterminate, which means that they just keep growing. As long as you continue to provide them support, nutrition, water, and sunlight, and keep them healthy, meaning trimming away anything that might have disease or sickness, making sure they don't have a lot of splashback where they're going to get funky, they'll just keep growing. I mean, tomato plants can get 8 to 10 feet tall, or even taller in some cases. If you've ever seen people growing them in a greenhouse where they can really control conditions, they grow all the way up to the ceiling. But I would say up in, if you're in New York and you have that short growing season, determinates are usually earlier tomatoes. There is a seed company called Fruition Seeds, and they sell seeds. All of the seeds that they sell are picked for northern climates, and they have a lot of tomato varieties on there that are the earlier ones, the shorter season stuff. So maybe check them out and get some ideas. They're a great company too, super sweet people.
Hey, D. Garcia, it says, "Do you see me? First time on live feed. Love you all."
Oh, welcome. We're so
awesome.
glad you're here. Rusted Ranch Garden. What tomatoes are best for my area? Texas by the border. It's super hot. Oh, man. I don't know off the top of my head. I have a list. Like, I can tell you a couple, but email me and I'll share. Ben Vinson got a handful of ones. I know like Granny Cantrell's was one. Abu Ruan was one. There were a few that Baker Creek had, but he had gotten some of their like high humidity, high heat varieties. And another thing that a lot of people do down in like near Mexico and Florida and stuff is they just grow them a lot earlier and later and don't even try to grow them through the heat of the summer. Yeah, I will definitely do some more cast iron recipes. Okay, TP trellises for beans. I've done small TP trellises where I take like 3 sticks and tie them together and then wrap a string all the way around it. Now, I have seen the epic TPs on Pinterest where it's like they make it really big where like a child can get in it. And I think that's really cool, but I haven't done that because, I mean, we've just mostly grown in raised beds, so I don't want my kids in raised beds. But
honestly, how I see that going the first few times is probably like one of those Nailed It shows where it's like we got all the sticks and like there's like 3 plants with like 5 beans and it's like holes everywhere and it's like half dying. It's like Nailed It.
Yeah. I am wanting to plant 3 sisters in the back, Lori. That's where I'm going to do the corn and the squash and the beans, and I'm going to keep some of it separate, but I'm going to experimentally do some of it together. How much corn are you planting, and are you separating different types? I am not trying to separate anything, but there's a couple of varieties that I like. And for me, I'm mostly growing corn that's kind of novelty corn. Like I'm not going to grow a whole lot. I'm only going to grow a handful of rows or blocks. And so like the glass gem, like the really pretty stuff. There's one from that's white with these blue dots on it that's really pretty. I can't think what it's called. So I kind of just like to grow the unusual stuff. And if we're gonna eat corn fresh, I'll buy the organic non-GMO stuff at Whole Foods.
Yeah, pretty much. We're not really growing it to eat it.
Yeah, glass gem's beautiful. I actually still have some glass gem seeds that I saved last year because that was the only corn that I grew last year. I've seen the sunflower houses. Those are really beautiful. As far as starting okra seeds, I have not had any issues starting okra seeds, even in an unheated greenhouse. So I don't know. I mean, I've started them just like everything else. So I don't know. I've never had any issues with them.
Hey, Gail.
Oh, there's VW Family Farms.
Oh, look at them. Finally decided to show up. Over there worshiping the Lord and stuff. We're over here doing a live video.
Yeah, they have church on Sunday nights.
It's because they're sanctified.
Cindy said I soaked them first, the okra. So that's a good tip. That probably would help.
Contend spirit. That'd be a question for
What type of lettuce can be grown in summer in
Wholesome
central
Roots.
Georgia? Rose, Wholesome Roots is on here. She's in central Georgia and she does a lot of gardening. She would be a really good person for you to connect with. Contented spirit. Planted another succession of French breakfast radishes today. Oh yes, I love those. Those are my favorite. I'm not
triple crop.
climbing triple crop. Yeah,
That's
and
a
it's
tomato,
actually
right?
Barb. It's actually spelled. It's silly, but it's TRIP -L crop, triple crop, like that. It's not the actual spelled out word triple. So if you're Googling it, if you're looking for it, I'm pretty sure Luke has that one in my gardener. He has seeds for the triple crop.
Mary Cleveland, what kind of issues are you having with cow's milk? If people do have issues with lactose in cow's milk, a lot of times they will not have the same issues with goat's milk. Like my brother Josh is lactose intolerant, and he comes over and has his goat's milk in his coffee, and it doesn't mess with him. So, I mean, depending on what issue you're having, yeah, goat's milk could be an answer.
Yeah. How close are we on our goats? They are very close. I don't know exactly when they're due because they were in with the buck for like a 3-week period. The earliest they could have been due was January 15th. So at some point over the next 3 weeks, or I guess now, 2.5 weeks, they could kid. I don't think that they'll go 3 weeks. There are a lot of things that you're looking for, and they're doing a lot of them already. What all do you make with your goat's milk? Please do a video. Yeah, whenever we get back into milk, I'll definitely be doing some videos. Whenever I get an excess of milk, I make mozzarella because that's a good way to get through it. And then
What we don't do? We don't do goat cheese. Do you know why?
Well, we make mozzarella. I don't make tangy goat cheese.
Right. Do you know why?
Okay. I used to love goat cheese. I loved it. Like everywhere, if it had goat cheese in it, I'm like, goat cheese. Let me order that dish.
Goat cheese salad.
Now, after having kept goats, goat cheese to me tastes like goats smell. And so I've spent so much time like in the barn and cleaning it and taking care of them. And when we trim hooves, whenever we give them medicine, whenever I'm milking them, and just the smell of goat, and especially ruddy boy goat. That's a smell that like haunts your dreams. And so if I go to a restaurant and something comes out and it has goat cheese in it, I take a bite and I'm like, Like I am not picky. I will eat just about anything in the world. And I would choke down goat cheese, to not be rude to somebody, if they presented it to me, but it would be hard because all I can do when I taste it, I just smell goat, and I can't do it anymore.
Dustin, painter, if we had the resources to get one, we would have already had one. Jessica's done extensive research on a freeze dryer, and we've even entered giveaways multiple times to try and get one.
So expensive.
They're expensive.
They're $2,000.
If we had one, I guarantee you we would use that as much as canning, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
We would use it as much as canning for all, eggs, all kinds of stuff. We have a list of just ridiculous stuff that we would freeze dry just because we could. And then we have a list of stuff that you would do practically because you can really repurpose it.
Oh, Jocelyn, cajeta is so good. I make cajeta, and I make the cajeta like this. I make it saucy and put it in coffee or on ice cream, or I will make actual hard, let it cook longer and make goat's milk caramels, and they're so good. You have to keep them in the fridge, but they're really good.
I saw one question. I'm going to answer it, and you can correct. I'm guessing what you would say. Brassicas are sown, not started.
Brassicas are started for the most part.
This is why I don't garden.
It also depends on where you live.
Did you start all that broccoli?
Yeah, those roll starts.
Oh, okay.
I bought them because I didn't start anything because it was when your mom died. And so I bought all those in a nursery. I don't usually buy starts. And so that's why.
I had a 50-50 chance.
Okay. Here's the issue with brassicas. If you live in a really cold area, you would have the time for them to grow, without them bolting, but you can't start things super early because your ground's frozen solid. See, our ground doesn't freeze. Like right now, I could go plant something in the soil and it might not grow very fast. It would need heat to germinate, but it's not going to get frozen. It's not going to get killed. But my issue is that if I don't start my brassicas to get them started in the ground in February, that by the time that they're actually growing something, it's too hot and they're flowering. So it's really just, you need the season extension. Chloe, what do you recommend for fertilizer for seedlings? In the past, I have used Super Thrive in my stuff. And I'm even hesitant to share that because what research I've done on it, I know it's not organic, but I don't think that it's bad, but I don't really know. It's just what I've always used. It's what my mom used and she gave it to me. And I've always used that and I probably still will. I need to look into it a little more. And then I use rabbit poop and what I do, and this is very scientific, but I get a 5-gallon barrel or bucket, fill it halfway up with rabbit poop and leave it right outside the greenhouse in the rain. And when it fills up with rain, it essentially makes like rabbit poop tea. And I just go put that on my plants. So I did do a video pickling cucamelons. Kim King. I think it's called on my channel, The Tiniest Pickles I've Ever Seen or something like that. It was in the summer. Somebody said something about Daniel doing a video. Your needs are why. He does have a YouTube channel. Daniel does have one. It's called Daniel Smith Psalmist. And he doesn't post on it just a whole lot. I think that he would do really well at it. I agree with that. Especially, I think he's made it public now. His album will be out next month, February 26th, for all of those who have asked. And I will make sure that I let you guys know where you can purchase that. And he's also auditioning for The Voice. So that's going to be really cool. All right, guys. We are about to wrap this up because we're past 8 o'clock. Yes, he is still planning on singing at the meetup. For those of you who are not aware, on April the 6th, we are co-hosting a meetup with VW Family Farm here in Arkansas at their home on their property, which is right outside Rosebud, Arkansas, which is kind of near Heber Springs and Searcy. So if you guys would like to come meet with us there, that's going to be really awesome. We're going to do a plant sale, seed swap. We're going to have vendor spaces available. It's really just a casual thing, an opportunity for us to get together. We're going to have like a food truck there and just some porta potties. It's an outdoor thing. But we just wanted to have an opportunity to get together and meet with everybody and trade some seeds and plants and all of that stuff. So Lauren just posted the comment, or Two Family, y'all are on it, posted the thing for the Eventbrite. So if you want to check it out, it doesn't cost, but we did make it so that you had to go reserve a ticket. So that we would have a head count. Alrighty, guys. So, VW Family Farm. Am I going to sing? I don't know about that yet. Y'all go give my moderator some love. I've got several wonderful people on here. VW Family Farms has a channel. They're local to us, Big Bear Homestead. They're in Georgia and are doing some really awesome things. Two Family Homestead, who are the sweetest, and they have homesteaders and people who are, going after this lifestyle on their channel every Monday for lives. There's Wholesome Roots, so it's Rose, and she is in Georgia as well. And she does a lot of gardening and quail and goats and just lots of stuff going on there. Goldshaw Farm, I think he's off of here now, but he was on here a little while ago. And Morgan's up in Vermont. Yeah, Vermont, Al's, New Hampshire, up there in the frigid north where it looks like a postcard whenever he drives to the post office. But definitely y'all go give them some love, follow them. They make it possible for us to do this. So Oh, Green Zebra Gardening, you're finally here. Yay. What did I miss there? I see a bunch of people saying so sorry, Annie. Oh no, Lisa. I'm so sorry. They found her pregnant mama goat dead that morning.
Say what?
They found her pregnant mama goat dead this morning. I am so sorry.
That sucks.
Man. All right, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out. Sorry, I saw a question that keeps coming up. Whether I'm going to be doing any more devotionals soon, the answer is yes. I've actually just been really praying and asking God what the next one's supposed to be. And sometimes I just get I've honestly just been in a place of like really spending a lot of quiet time and really just like praying for direction and clarity. And I've been really focusing on my kids. It's been so wonderful. Just Maya and I have really spent a lot of quality time together and just not being really busy because we're actually not super busy right now. And that's really nice. And just kind of enjoying the downtime. And I haven't really had a lot that I felt like saying. I've been very reflective. It's that time of year for me. I get very reflective right now. So I'll have something soon, I'm sure. Oh.
Or maybe I'll do one.
Yeah, maybe I'll do one.
So Zavia will stop our live chats.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you all so much more than we can even say. You have anything?
Nope. See you, little homie.
Bless you guys. Until next time.